Good evening, everyone. Would you please join us in a salute to the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have an overview.
Sure do. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2016 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2015, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Ms. Adams.
Here.
Mr. Grodman. Mrs. Larrier.
Here.
Mr. Lembrick.
Here. Good night, Cece.
Mayor DeLuca.
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of the public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7 provides that governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And where it is the desire of this governing body to comply with the provisions of this act, and at the same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Maplewood, that it does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to observation of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Grodman?
Yes.
Ms. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November 14th meeting of the Maplewood Township Committee. This meeting is being held on Monday night because tomorrow starts the annual League of Municipalities Convention, and we will be there. I would like to go through the agenda. First, we're going to have a proclamation on Gratitude Graffiti Project, and Mrs. Larry is going to handle that one. Next, we'll have our public comment, so if you'd like to come up, we ask you to give us your name and address and share your thoughts with us. We then have ordinances that we'll be introducing, all of which have to do with the location of a stop sign. And this is part of the 2016 road repair program. And so as part of that, the engineering department has identified stop signs that they think should be in place. So we're going to be introducing those because all stop signs, believe it or not, have to be done by ordinance. We have 7 discussion items. One, we'll be talking about the 2016 best practices inventory. 2, updating the video initiative on the township website. 3, we're going to be talking about the January budget hearings schedule. And Mr. McGee, we're going to need you to join us in that conversation on the scheduling since you will be up here at that time. Number 4, we're talking about interlocal agreement regarding field user fees, and that's with South Orange and the Board of Education. We'll be talking about a proposed ordinance to establish a senior advisory committee. Talking about winter enclosures in Maplewood Village. Those are for restaurants. And lastly, we'll be talking about designating Maplewood as a sanctuary community. We have a consent agenda which has 4 items. I think this is the smallest consent agenda we've ever had. We'll be approving bills and claims, a budget transfer, and approving minutes of the November 1st meeting, both open and closed. We'll have our second public comment period at that time. Right after that, administrative reports and reports from elected officials. A couple of things. We have Mr. Desiderio, who is our the township council tonight, has a slash. He's the township council and township clerk. So he will be taking over the responsibility of Ms. Fritzen this
So
evening.
I ask you all to be kind.
Yes, we'll be kind.
No.
But keep the meeting moving, please.
I'll do my best.
Okay. And secondly, before we get to the proclamation, I would like to announce that today, Chief Semino and I were in Newark at the New Jersey Transportation Planning Authority to receive a presentation of appreciation from the Transportation Planning Authority for Street Smart, Be Street Smart, and this is for our activities, as they say here, that they are recognizing Maplewood because of the work we've done in contributing to the program goals of making New Jersey safer for pedestrians. And they've are working with 40 communities in the state. We're one of those. And today they recognize us, and this is part of our pedestrian safety initiative that I spoke about in the State of the Township address on January 1st, and we've been working on throughout the year, and we have plenty of work to do as we go forward. But some of our work is being recognized, and just want to share that with everyone. Now we'll go into the proclamation, and Mrs. Larrier.
Here we go, boys.
You have to make sure that's on. I don't think that's on.
It's not.
No.
No, you got to turn on and speak into it. Hit the battery down.
Let's use this.
Wait,
Hello?
we have it, or we had it. I think the battery.
This is this one. This is this one.
Yeah. Yeah, just to.
All right, thank you. So I have Candace and her children, and I will read the proclamation in full. Whereas the Gratitude Graffiti Project was created by two Maple, would you like to read it? Would you like, no? Do you want to read it? No? Okay. Okay. Was created by two Maplewood residents, Candace Davenport, raise your hand, and Lucilla McElroy in the year of 2012. And whereas the Gratitude Graffiti Project is based on a simple concept supported by positive psychology research and health literature, that one of the most important steps to wellness and happiness is to assume a daily practice of gratitude. And whereas the Gratitude Graffiti Project provides an opportunity for residents to appreciate and express the good things in one's life through interactive art declared respectfully on public spaces. Whereas the Gratitude Graffiti Project is now utilized as a tool for health and healing nationwide in hospital settings, drug rehab centers, hospice facilities, mental health centers, and penitentiaries. And whereas the Gratitude Graffiti Project is now utilized to teach youth about the practice of mindfulness and gratitude in schools and universities across the country and around the world, whereas the Gratitude Graffiti Project is utilized by businesses in small towns like ours and large cities, as well as corporate offices, nonprofit sector, and governmental departments to facilitate a positive, healthy workplace culture. Now, therefore, Victor Luca, Mayor of the Township of Maplewood, on behalf of the Maplewood Township Committee, this 14th day of November 2016, want to thank Candace Davenport and Lucilla McElroy for creating the Gratitude Graffiti Project, as it helps individuals express themselves in multiple ways, builds community resilience, and focuses on improving physical, mental, and holistic health. Do Do you guys have something to be grateful for?
I am very grateful for my mom and family. I'm just grateful for being here, just having the best mom ever, and I couldn't have a better mom to sing.
Ooh, that's some good gratitude there. Very good. Would you like to say something?
I'm grateful that my boys are here tonight. I'm grateful for Robert Royal, Health Officer, for supporting us tonight, and thank you very much for this proclamation.
Well, thank you, and thank you for, oh, we need to get a, here, why don't you hold this up?
Why don't you move away from the microphone?
Yeah. Thank you for doing this, and I think it's a great project. Thank you.
Thank you. Now stick it, it's in there. Can you turn that so it faces us?
We're going to have to do another proclamation for the cuteness factor on that one.
Okay, well, congratulations. Next up, we'll have our public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address the Township Committee? Please come on up and give us your name and address.
Good evening, everyone. Council members, Mayor DeLuca. My name is William Andrews, and I am a resident of 58 Lexington Avenue. I believe it was sometime in mid-September, I received a notice, as did other residents of the Hilton section of Maplewood, with regard to the leaf collection. Now, I had called up the township, and I had, basically inquired, I actually called Public Works, and I had inquired as to why, what was the purpose of, the actual leaf collection, why some people had to bag leaves, why others could leave leaves in the street. Well, I was told that because right now they're in the process right now conducting a study as to how they can go about, making better services for the township in terms of the leaf collection. So about 2 weeks later, I'm just driving in Maplewood Village here, Ridgewood Avenue, Maplewood Avenue, and I was very surprised to find that there were people that were actually raking leaves in the street. And, that just kind of concerned me a little bit. So then I turned on Durand Place, which is, a relatively quiet residential neighborhood. And there was a truck there, with the leaf, scooping up leaves, putting leaves in the dump truck. So I spoke to the town again regarding the pickup of the leaves. And I said that, that really doesn't make sense at all to me. And I said, can you give me some type of an explanation as to why you're saying that right now they're, we're trying to see how we can basically improve, with regard to the streets, how we can keep the streets where people raking leaves in the streets, and that can somewhat cause a hazard. And I said to him, if you take, for example, they're raking leaves in the street on Boyden Avenue between Elmwood Avenue and Irvington Avenue. Now, if you take that stretch of Boyden Avenue between Elmwood Avenue and Irvington Avenue, on a 7-day week, there are more cars that come through that portion of Boyden Avenue. I'm on Lexington Avenue between Wellesley Street and Rutgers Street. If you look at the cars that come through that portion of Boyden Avenue on a 7-day week, on just straight 7 days, there are probably more cars that come through there in 7 days than comes through my portion of Lexington Avenue in an entire year. I spoke with, I believe it was Calvin Bell, who was the Director of Public Works, and he pretty much said to me, well, right now I just drove around the town, like basically, if you have the trucks right now picking up leaves, and you have the, the residents bagging leaves, that, that could somewhat, for example, when the trucks have to go around and, I guess, put leaves into the truck, it's a lot easier when the leaves are bagged because they're a lot easier to collect. Public Works can probably maybe do 3 or 4 blocks, and then in terms of, using the crane, the leaf collector, they could probably do maybe 3 blocks with the same time that it takes to do 1 block. So I can understand that in the sense of, manpower, maybe trying to save space or whatever. But, one thing that I had asked him also was the fact that if you look at the notices that were sent out to people in the Hilton section, again, I still go through the Hilton section. I still see some residents that are raking leaves into the street. When I asked Mr. Bell, I said, well, what about the residents that are raking leaves in the street? His comment to me was, well, what's going to happen is they're going to probably sit there for a little bit, and then I guess at some point, Public Works will go out and they will collect the leaves, but they're not going to just do it immediately. And that just kind of concerned me a little bit. I said the fact that I'm here 23 years, and I'm a law-abiding citizen, and if the town sent out a directive to residents, he said Hilton section basically was the first area within the town that was going to be tested, I guess, to see, how this once they implement this, and basically to see how it affects the entire town. If a directive is sent out to property owners to bag their leaves, of course, I'm going to be in compliance with that directive. And it just kind of disturbs me a little bit to think that, you send out a notice to property owners right now that this is what, is going on right now, and breaking leaves in the street. So if people right now are not going to go out and bag their leaves, and he's telling me that they're going to eventually come around at some point and pick the leaves up, then, it's just almost as if though people were just totally just directive. And Public Works is going to pick up the leaves eventually. And it's just very disturbing to think that, you have people that abide by the directives that the town has set and people that don't do it. And I purposely think that they should, set some type of a monetary fine for the people that don't want to, comply with this directive. Because it's not fair to others that, are complying with the directive.
So let me respond to a couple of things. Let me start with your last statement first, because we met this morning with Mr. Bell, and we told him exactly what you're saying. I live on Lexington Avenue.
You're
Okay.
right. Other end of
Okay. So right now I got 12 bags out there, and I would be upset too if my neighbors were putting stuff into the street and it was being picked up. So what we're doing is we're not picking it up now. We're sending our code enforcement people to them to let them know that this is a directive that they have to go, and if they have to go get the bags, they'll get the bags from DPW. So I haven't seen a lot, but there's a handful around. On every block, there's maybe 1 or 2. There's about 13 blocks in the program, about 600 plus houses. So we wanted to try it out. We had to pick someplace. And we picked there because it's the streets are, straight. It's an easy way. They're narrower. The streets also tends to be more parking from residents, because a lot of residents have a single driveway and have to pull a car out to get cars in and out. So we wanted to see how it worked there, and then we're going to evaluate it to see if it should be continued, both from traffic safety, ease of work, because we're getting some complaints from people who are saying it's hard to do bagging, or it's costly because they have to pay somebody to bag it. So we want to get all this information, also the cost. Preliminarily, we heard this morning that the collection is going quicker, that because the leaves are in the bags, they're able to be put into the trucks and compacted more than, and just what you said, we have less round trips to the yard. So all that is a cost, and we have to figure it out. So that's what we'll be doing after the leaf season to try to figure out if we're going to continue with the bagging idea, if we're going to expand it slowly. So that's where we are. We had to pick a spot to try it, and we thought that was the best spot. We thought we would get a high degree of compliance, and we have. So that's the reason. And the mayor lives there. So I figured if we were going to do it, then I had to live by it too. So that was one other reason. So so that's where we are. And at the end, we'll ask people for their comments. We're getting them as we've gone along. Your comments are helpful. The other thing is people have run out of bags. I ran out of bags. I had to go out and buy 5 more. We cleared it up today that if you need more bags, you can go to DPW and get more bags. Because we gave out 15 to every homeowner.
Right.
Not everybody needs them, so we have some other bags there. But I do agree with you about you can't expect people to comply if they see somebody not complying and there's no recourse for that. So they're going to sit there. Those leaves are going to sit there. And we're going to send people out to tell them they got to put them in bags.
Okay. Just one other thing, Mayor DeLuca. In talking to Mr. Bell this morning, he said that, like he's driven around certain areas of the town, and, some of the areas within the town, he said, appear to be a lot, cleaner, with regard because, people are going out there, raking the leaves. I don't know if this is based on people raking leaves, and I'm assuming this is based on people bagging the leaves. He said that he's seen a little bit more improvement in terms of, like the cleanliness of some of the blocks. And I'm just assuming based on what you just said that it might be a little too early at this stage right now to make a determination as to whether the town is going to continue the same thing with the bagging. So I guess you're just probably going to wait until the leaf season is over and then just evaluate everything from, top to the bottom and then make a decision as to whether.
Yes. I will say, just Ms. Adams wants to say something, but what happened in the past is, I'd rake my leaves out in the street. My neighbors would rake it, and then the wind would come, and a lot of the leaves got blown back on. What I like now is I've raked it, and I got them in bags, and everybody's got them in bags, so there's less leaves being blown around. So the lawn stays cleaner he may be observing that. I don't know. But Ms. Adams?
Well, that's actually what I was going to say is that, because my knee-jerk reaction when we talked about this, because what's starting to prove out is that it may very well be a cost-saving issue with regard to leaf collection by the DPW. But it's definitely, we had that big windy day, and by the way, I love the fact that you're saying people are raking, because I wish they were raking more. But we get my neighbors had their landscapers blew all their leaves into the street, and the next day they were all in my yard and all up the street. So had they been bagged, that wouldn't have been an issue at all. So, there's pros and cons to both of it. So that's what we're going to look into. So thank you for piloting it anyway, because I know
Great, thank you.
We'll reach out to you again at the end because you were nice enough to come and speak about it. So we'll get your opinion again, as we go forward.
Okay, great, thank you.
And if you need extra bags, just pick some up at DPW.
15 today, so we're going to see.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to address the Township Committee?
Julie Martini, 12 Briarcliff Court. It's been a long time, lots of new faces on the board. I wasn't going to speak on this, but since the gentleman who just left talked about leaves, there is something that I would like to say. I would like to encourage you to bag leaves. At the Maplewood Garden Club, we had a hydrologist come from Rutgers University who talked about things going into our stormwater runoff system. And one of the things they do not want are organic materials like leaves. When I drive around the town, what I see are lots of leaves going down those grapes. So I would encourage you to do bags. I come from Summit bagged, and it's really so much better. And I rake. I really loved your ordinance against the leaf blowers. I hate leaf blowers. But what I wanted to talk to you about tonight was the fact that on Wednesday when I woke up, I wanted to move to Toronto. It's going to put my house on the market, sell all my goods, pack them up into a backpack, and move to Toronto. Yes, I've been there. It's a cute little town. But then the woman I work for, the executive director of Valley Arts, where I'm the general manager, she also lives in Maplewood, I hope she's listening, sent around an email from her daughter, who is at least half my age, who's a homeless advocate in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I just want to read you a little piece of this email that she sent around. She wrote, I see the possibilities of all the negative and destructive forces Trump has conjured up during this election, so I have no choice but to look at where I stand as these forces begin their ascent. And I'm going to do the only thing I can do, be a force for good, for positivism, and progress. I can at least work to mold the vision of the world I want at my local level, trying to live the change that so many people in this world fear. I don't have to be voted into office to keep fighting for civil rights, equality, and justice. So I am here to ask all of you, are you going to be joining me? Because I'm going to be pushing you to be the progressive town that I believe you to be. I moved here from Summit in 2010. Summit, as you know, is a very Republican town. I was a Democratic member there, and I tried my best, and after a while I gave up. So I moved here because it was so much easier. But at this point, we're going to have to take a stand on some very difficult issues. We're going to have to start thinking outside the box. Just for one little example, and I will come back each week and talk to you about other issues. One little issue that I've watched my entire life is the issue of free education. I'm a product of free education. I went to City College when it was a free university, which it is not today. I joined my parents on the picket line to fight for the United Federation of Teachers, and then all my life I've watched them chip away at unions so that unions are now a dirty word. Nobody believes in unions anymore, right? And then I watched the vilification of municipal workers, and particularly teachers. When I grew up, teachers and parents were allied. Today, all teachers have to do is say strike, and that whole alliance is out the window. So I figured that in 2014, there was $111 billion slated for, in the federal budget, slated for free public education. And I know the sharks have been circling around that particular pile of money in order to give it to, I don't know, corporations for greater tax cuts. So I suspect that in several years, with that man in the White House, there's going to be no money for public education coming from the feds, which I know comes through the state. And what are we going to do? I already know that 3 cents out of 5 cents of our property taxes goes to support our schools. And I also have to ask, what's the purpose of that? So the kids have to be forced into a life that's really it's not childhood any longer. Nobody lives the kind of childhood that I had, where I was free to roam the streets, call on my friends, and play some games that they don't do anymore. I mean, we expect our kids to be mini adults when they're finished 5th grade. They have to be able to be experts in time management. They have to be self-disciplined and self-reliant. Their entire lives are structured. You know, they have to do sports. They have to practice an instrument. They have to do their homework. It's a mess. It's really a mess. And I heard this weekend that NYU is up to $71,000 a year in tuition. For what? Do you really need a college education to work in a barbershop, or to be a pet groomer, or a bartender? I mean, we're going to have to eventually start thinking outside the box. I'm serious. And I'm going to, I had a wonderful boss once when I still worked in the factories. Right. Ain't no jewelry factories coming back to Newark. Let me tell you, I don't care what that man in the White House, or going to be in the White House, says. They're not coming back. Forget about it. So where was I? I forgot. I would love us to think outside the box. This boss taught me, don't come to me with your complaints and your problems, but do so when you have a solution. Solution? How about the kids become young entrepreneurs? Why not? Let's go to school half a day and work half a day. They're going to be entrepreneurs anyway. There aren't going to be enough jobs to go around. There aren't already. There are many of us, I'm sure, in town who are now entrepreneurs, working for ourselves, trying to cobble together a life, working here, working there, refining our skills. That's the world that our kids are going to live in. They're not going to get jobs like I had originally years ago. I mean, come on. So That's my idea. I'm going to continue to come back and bother you. Education's only one issue. I got lots of them, but I'm going to let you get to the job of passing ordinances on stop signs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez.
Anyone else want to address the Township Committee?
I'll keep this brief because this terrifies me. It's my first time I've ever been to one of these. My name is Michelle Boudreau. I live on 438 Walton. Very similar. But on Friday evening, a bunch of families that some I knew, some I didn't know, came together, and we all sat down at my house with their children and created art and talked about ways to be positive. And a lot of us we brainstormed a lot of ideas, and a lot of us don't have background in politics or any kind of government. We're more graphic designers and art directors and programmers and that sort of thing. But we came up with a lot of ideas, and we need your help. And we just want a list, ways that we can be part of the community, volunteer, create websites to know more about what's going on, initiatives, down ballots. When I voted on Tuesday, for example, I didn't even see, for example, the tax,
Transportation Trust
yes,
Fund.
I didn't even see it. And I was so adamant about voting for that, and I felt I wanted to go back in, and of course can't do that. Anyway,
It passed.
so
It passed.
there are a lot of us, lots and lots and lots of us. I have a whole group of people that's why I'm here right now representing, who are ready to help. And this isn't about, what's done is done. We can't undo what happened. We can't undo Bannon being appointed. But we can make things better in the future for our kids. And I'm just a mom of 3 boys, and I just want your help. I want to know how 35 families that came to my house on Friday, some of whom I knew and some of whom I didn't. So if you guys have, anyway, this terrifies me. This is a huge deal for me to get up here and say this to people I don't know. Friday was a huge deal to me, but something needs to change.
Well, Michelle, thank you for coming out. And we do appreciate it, and we know that you're speaking for a lot more than just yourself. And one of the ways that I would like to say that you can help, and I know that you already know this because I'm looking at your form, and that is for anyone who's watching or listening, fill out one of these community resource forms.
I brought a bunch home with me today. I ran here on my jog this morning and brought a bunch that I'm going to hand out to the people that were there. Because
this is a great way for us, not only when there's openings on our, nearly 24 community committees and boards for this community, for us to figure out who's interested and what resource in the community, but also just knowing what talent is out there, who wants to get involved. Because sometimes, even if there's not a spot on a particular board or committee at this time, someone has a skill, and we could say, you know what, we don't need someone to go to a meeting every 2 weeks for the next 3 years.
Right.
We need someone to do this project, or we need someone with this expertise. So this is a great way to do that. And I think, speaking out, doing what you did tonight, even if it's not what comes naturally, or
not at all. I have no idea.
But I think that what happened last Tuesday, there's a lot of ways to think about it, but a lot of good people whose voices weren't loud enough. And I think that we really need to encourage all of the good people who don't have a background in politics or don't feel comfortable in government to speak more and not be intimidated.
That's one of the things that came out of our meeting on Friday, was that a lot of people who never did anything. I mean, I couldn't even name half of the people that have been running and I love this town. And that's what we're going to change. And I can talk off the record at some point if you want to email me, but there's my husband's a programmer, and there's an idea we're meeting this week about creating a more broad website for free, just information, so that we know the initiatives, we know what's going on, we know the people behind who are just data and information that somebody can go to and click something and find it quickly, and so we don't miss any down ballots.
And one of the things that we struggle with as a municipal government, particularly for a smaller town, is figuring out the best ways to communicate with residents in ways that they will hear. Because we have ways, we all pay attention.
I know, of course, you're in it.
And we get, just because we get 10 emails about it doesn't mean that everyone else is getting even one.
I will tell you, most of us don't, and we
Right.
want to so badly.
So, and I think, what we're going to do, and I chair a subcommittee of the Township Committee on Communications, and that's one of the things that I really want to look at in the next year is how can we be more effective in reaching the residents who we're not reaching? Because I think it's wrong to assume that the people who we're not reaching just don't want to hear us.
Not at all, yeah, and you're absolutely right.
Oh.
And we're here and ready for you, so.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you listening to me. Thank
Ms.
you so
Adams?
much. And-
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you also, but, to also look at, for all your neighbors and stuff, to look at other organizations in town. And one that I would totally recommend that I got involved with when I first moved to town and taught me a lot is the League of Women Voters of Maplewood and
The
South
women,
Orange. League of Women Voters.
I just found that.
Yes, and the League, it's a national organization, there's a state office, and they're local. It used to just be Maplewood and South Orange. We merged them in the 90s. But they run debates. They're very much nonpartisan. And the League has been pushing for campaign finance reform for longer than I was involved in
Okay.
it. So for at least 30 years, they've been advocating for that. And they advocate on a state level, they advocate on a national level. And when you're talking about like who's in the White House now and how upsetting that is to so many Maplewoodians, I mean, we went 10-1, Hillary over Trump. So it's clearly an issue with many of us who choose to live here for all the reasons we choose to live here,
Bit
right?
of a bubble, though.
Yeah, so the money, I mean, the money, I mean, corporate America in a large way has just gotten the White House too. And so the League, I think, might be very interesting for maybe some of your people. And also Community Coalition on Race is another one that,
I know that one too. I
Deal
just,
with it.
all of within the past week. I've
yeah,
been-
so all of those are always
Growing,
looking
so.
for members and, you know, it was great. My kids were little when I got into the League and it was like, I was home with them, so it was a great way to actually talk and use my brain and not hear babbling, you know.
Clean
So,
diapers, white noses.
but it's also a really, really strong and positive organization that can effectuate really good change.
Thank you, and I will tell everybody that we've been talking nonstop.
I'm
meeting
sure if you
about
just Google League of Women Voters,
League of
Maplewood and
Women
South
Voters on the
Orange, you can
rail-
find it. Yeah.
Coalition for Race. Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you, and good luck. Keep us informed.
I just want to,
Mr. Grobman wants to say something.
thank you. I just want to
Great.
follow up for both of you who spoke just now. We do have a discussion item this evening about talking about Maplewood being a sanctuary community, which is, you know, one of the groups that has been facing a great deal of, let's call it difficulty over the last week. So that's something we're going to be speaking about tonight as well.
And I just want to say that, just repeat what I said Friday night, there was a gathering at the Woodland. The government here, the representatives that you see here are on record continuously of speaking out for social and economic and political justice, and we're going to continue to do that. And we're going to take leadership when it needs to be done against things or for things and challenge those things that we think are going to be harmful to people who live here. Okay, anyone else want to address the Township Committee? Okay, there's going to be another one later. We will move forward with the new ordinance number 7. Mr. Clerk?
Mayor, item number 7, introduction of new ordinance. An ordinance to direct the installation of a stop sign on Essex Avenue at its intersection with Garfield Place. I believe the interpretive statement repeats the intent of the ordinance, so I don't think I need.
I don't think that's what you're supposed to do, but that's okay.
Well, I wrote it, so I
You're
think I
okay.
can take some editorial.
Can we get a motion, Ms. Adams?
Yes, this is on introduction, right?
Yes.
Mayor, I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on
Sixth.
December 6th. December 6th.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Grodman?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes,
It passes.
thank you. Number 8.
Number 8, introduction of new ordinance. An ordinance to direct the installation of a stop sign on Lancaster Avenue at its intersection with Oakland Road.
Can we get a motion, Ms. Adams?
Mayor, I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on December 6th.
Second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Grodman?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you very much. Next up.
Number 9, introduction of a new ordinance. An ordinance to direct the installation of stop signs on Claremont Avenue at its intersection with, Claremont Drive at its intersection with Claremont Avenue.
We get a motion, Ms. Adams?
Mayor, I
Mayor,
move,
if I may just, on this one, just for the public, this particular intersection is a horseshoe, so there's actually 2 stop signs, one on each end of Claremont Drive as it comes back into Claremont Avenue. I'm sorry, Ms. Adams.
I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and the hearing to be held on December 6th.
Thank you. Second. Call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Grodman?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. Introduction of new ordinance number 10.
Number 10, an ordinance to direct the installation of a stop sign on Hemlock Court at its intersection with Claremont Avenue.
I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, hearing to be held on December 6th.
Second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Grodman?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. Number 11.
Item number 11, introduction of new ordinance. An ordinance to direct the installation of a stop sign on Woodside Road at its intersection with Orchard Road.
Mayor, I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on December 6th.
Second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Grodman?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Item number 12, Mayor, an ordinance to direct the installation of a stop sign on Heller Place at its intersection with Orchard Road.
Mayor, I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on December 6th.
Second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Grodman?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier? Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you.
And item 13, introduction of new ordinance, an ordinance to direct the installation of a stop sign on Midland Boulevard at its intersection with Orchard Road.
Mayor, I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on December 6th.
Second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Grodman?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. Well, that was 7 stop signs. I think it's fair to say there's no stopping us now. Okay. We have our discussion items. First is best practice inventory. Less jokes, I think, would be a good practice, right?
Oh, now that
Yeah, less jokes.
All
yes.
right, so you have received a copy of the best practices inventory, which is required by the state. It's revised every year, getting input from different state departments and municipalities. So our 5% of our last payment of financial aid, like it's the smallest payment you get, is predicated on having a score above a certain amount. We certainly have reached that score. Our CFO, Mr. Uribe, put it together. I think he did a pretty good job. And it's already been sent. It will be sent down to the state. You have to, I think there's a resolution on, is it? No. No, but you just have to actually just talk about it at a meeting.
Well, we pulled it off the last one,
Yes.
so maybe we should have a motion to accept it, just so you don't have a problem.
Got it.
Submission.
That's fine. And if you have any questions about it,
Right, are there any questions about the best practice worksheet? Just so everyone knows, there were 31 questions and 30 questions. And we answered yes to 25, no to 4, 1 was not applicable. So our score was 87%,
Yes, which is,
B,
Yeah.
which is very good.
B plus.
I would say.
Any questions? Can we get a motion to accept the best practice worksheet for 2016-17?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Rodman?
Yes.
Ms. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Limbrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. Okay, Mr. Manning, you have updating the video initiative on the township website.
Right. About 4 years ago, we entered into a program with CGI. I think it's Communications Graphic something. And CGI developed 4 short, brief videos, introduction to our town, economics, the parks and recreation area, and they also did one for the Community Coalition on Race. They are seen on our website below on the bottom half of the page. Well, they've contacted us. This is a freebie. What we do is we sign a letter which tells our vendors and people in the community, people who have businesses, that we're working with this company, and if they would like to participate, they get advertising around the frame of the video. So that, you know, if it's on real estate, for example, the real estate people will do it, or construction people, etc. And you just hit on it, and you can get a brief commercial, so to speak, to let them know about the services that are available by businesses here in Maplewood. CGI felt that it's time to upgrade this. They're also going to high definition resolution. They have other bells and whistles to make it even better. So they would take, for example, our economic development is completely different today than it was 4 years ago. So we should be highlighting these things. This would be something that we would do in the spring because it's getting close to winter. They don't like to film in the snow because it isn't as attractive as the springtime. So I think it's something that we did for free before. We got these, these 5 different videos there that people who are looking at us can look at and have a general idea of if they want to come and visit. We're also going to move that from below the bar to the side, to the left navigation, left column, as we move forward and make some changes to our website. So I'd just like a idea. If you want us to move forward, they'll make a presentation if you'd like. They have information, etc. They would meet with us regarding the types of things that we want in each of them, to highlight, etc.
Do we have any control over the advertisers that they select, and are they local businesses, or
Yes, they're local businesses.
local?
Yeah, so like it's not a national business like Exxon or
No,
something
but
like
it's
that.
also
Like a
other
cleaners.
towns' business.
Oh, other towns?
Yeah.
I don't remember them getting anyone from another town because it would be difficult to sell, I think,
Sure.
Well, although some real estate companies do go in multiple towns, so.
Right. Yeah, they're national firms. But I think it is local. I think when we negotiated with them before. The other thing is content.
Yes.
We had some issues before of balance on economic development, making sure they were portraying the whole town. So
Right.
I think they got it, and if they just stay with that pattern, we'll be okay. I think it's good. I think it adds some flavor to our website, particularly people who are thinking about moving here. It's kind of a nice, easy way to take a look at what we do, what's here.
Free or we pay for this?
No, it's free.
It's free.
Free still, okay.
Can we kick this to the Communications Committee to,
Absolutely.
yeah? Because this is going to happen in December or next year?
No, it's going to happen next year. We'll kind of plot it out with the vendor, and then we'll have meetings with the Communications Committee.
Yeah, I think if
It's suited for it.
that would be best, I think, because then they can think about the total communications message.
Yeah, sure. Thank
I
you.
agree.
Okay. So you should move forward, it sounds like, and start making that happen.
Okay.
Okay, next up, we can have Mr. McGehee come on up here to
You can sit.
bring your calendar.
You're welcome.
So typically, we have 2 all-day sessions for budget hearings. Is it all day?
They're pretty much from 9 to 3:30 with lunch break.
Right.
And we do the 2 of them, and there are still other meetings, but we usually tack them on to a
Right.
township committee meeting because they're not as lengthy. We get the bulk of them done in 2 meetings.
So
But
we've had some, I guess people want to do as much as possible in one day. I guess the question I have, because the first Saturday is the 7th, and then we usually don't do the next Saturday because it's a 3-day weekend,
right.
because of President's Day being on the
Yes.
16th. So then the issue became the 21st. Let's talk to the Township Committee, but that also now is a major march on Washington. The day after, so I will be in Washington that day, so.
Well, then it's out. Okay.
It's not just limited to women. So, and it's also talk to the Township Committee that day. So I was wondering if it was possible to do it on the 28th and the 4th of February. Because it's hard to do early and then
Then
do
you
it
have
again. You kind of lose that momentum.
Yeah. Yes, I agree, personally.
So you would suggest rather than do the 7th and the 28th, we do the 28th and the 4th?
That's what I would suggest.
Fine with me.
Mr. McGee, how's your schedule? Are you?
That works fine for me as well.
Okay. I just think it'd be easier for us to sort of be in the state of mind within 1 week of hearing it.
I think that's, yeah.
And we do it 9 to 3 type thing?
9. And Mr. Manning, is there I know Mr. Uribe isn't here, but will that create, will we be pushing too far into the season, so to speak?
No.
Okay.
The budget season, we don't have to introduce until.
It's usually the second week of February, but it's always been delayed at least a month.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so if that works, why don't we do it the 28th and February 4th?
Got it.
Okay?
Anybody have a problem with 10 to 4 instead of 9 to 3? Just asking.
10 to 4 is fine. 10 to 4, okay?
10 to 4.
So I don't have
Better
to
for
wake
you?
up at
Better for you,
the
right?
crack of dawn to go for
Yeah.
a walk, you know.
10 to 4?
exercise.
9 o'clock's the crack at dawn. Oh, my.
10 to 4?
Yes, it sounds fine. It sounds fine.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. You're getting closer. Mr. Lembeck, interlocal agreement regarding field users? User fees.
Yes.
Field users.
Well, it's a little bit of all of that. This is something that we've talked about before, and you may recall that I think it was just this past summer, we passed an ordinance that implemented user fees. And at the time, I previewed for all of you that we would be coming back to this issue because we passed an ordinance that was essentially identical to the one passed by the South Orange Board of Trustees and also to a resolution that was passed by the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education, where South Orange and Maplewood will both be collecting identical user fees for those using the athletic fields either for a whole season or a one-time use, and the Board of Education will be making a contribution in the amount that, for the use of athletic facilities by their students, since the school district does not have pay to play. They don't want to charge the individual students or their families. And the understanding of all of this was that we would create a trust between the three entities where we would put all of the user fees, that each entity would continue the regular maintenance and upkeep of the fields as it's currently doing, and that, then that would be separate and apart from this trust. But the trust would go towards the upgrading and improvement of the facilities. And as set forth in the interlocal agreement, all of you should have a draft, which I distributed. There would be representatives from each of the three entities making decisions each year about priorities and deciding where the money that had been collected from the field user fee should go in terms of upgrading and improving fields in the two townships, regardless of whether they're owned by Maplewood, South Orange, or the Board of Ed. Obviously, with the thinking being that as our residents use the fields, they aren't necessarily thinking, particularly if they're assigned by a recreation department to a field, of who owns this field. They just want the field to be good and to be playable. And there was, something of a belief among all three entities as we've met over the last few years, and I've joined only recently, that the best way to do this would be through the user fees, since really none of the entities has money in the budget to do much beyond what they're already doing, and also knowing that the other two entities were on board and committed to creating this trust and contributing to it, would be encouraging, because we would know that it wasn't just one of us doing it on our own. So what I'm asking for tonight, what Trustee Schnall is asking the Board of Trustees of South Orange tonight, and what Mrs. Doherty will be asking the Board of Education later this week, is for your agreement to sign on to this interlocal agreement on behalf of Maplewood.
Comments, questions? I think it's a good document. I think the whole thing is sound thinking is what we're trying to do.
So, Mr. Desiderio, stepping into your township attorney role, I won't ask you to change seats, but
It should go right.
what do we need to do to memorialize this and to effectively sign on behalf of the township to this interlocal agreement?
Well, you need to pass a resolution, which you can do tonight by motion, and then I can memorialize it if you want to do it tonight, or I can put it on paper and have it on for the next meeting, whatever your preference is, Mr. Lumber.
I think the goal is to do this sooner rather than later. So if my colleagues are amenable, I think I'd like to move a resolution tonight. So, Mr. Chairman, I move the adoption of this resolution to approve this interlocal agreement regarding field user fees on behalf of the Township of Maplewood.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
There be an opportunity for residents this and comment on it at the next time? Any?
Not if we pass it tonight.
Do you have a concern that, and Ms. Larry, just to address, I realize this isn't answering your question, but it was anticipated, and maybe incorrectly, by me and by others on the committee that have been putting this together, that the greater public opposition would be to the institution of the user fees themselves, and not necessarily to the mechanism by which the three entities would get together and choose how to spend them. So the reason that I moved the resolution tonight was not, I assure you, to sort of cut the public out of the process, but because I thought this was more ministerial and less substantive than what we did a few months ago, where we did discuss it over multiple meetings and adopt an ordinance. So, that being said, if there's concern among my colleagues that the public needs to weigh in on this, I think we could put it on for next meeting, but I'd still like to move forward tonight if people are agreeable.
I'm actually agreeable to moving forward tonight. I just throw that out there actually just in case anybody thinks someone might want to comment on it.
Well, let's do this. How about, let's move forward so that, I agree with you. This is really, we've already adopted the fee. And so this just says how the fee is going to be implemented. And so I think if we move this forward, like many interlocal agreements, we approve these things. If we do get some concerns, they can always be amended. we may get things coming back from South Orange tonight that we're not going to be aware of, but at least we ought to be on board with this, and then that's just how the negotiation process works. And we can ask our clerk's office to post this in Town Hall here, so if somebody wants to take a look at it, because it's very detailed and what have you, so I think we should move ahead. Others? Okay. Any other comments? It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Grodman?
Yes.
Ms. Larier?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. Okay, next up is Mr. Grodman. You have given us some thoughts on a senior advisory committee.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, last month I had suggested that the township create a senior advisory committee. There was some discussion about it that night, and the thought was that we should move forward with it. So I have been working with Mr. Manning to try to come up with a structure for the committee so that we can introduce an ordinance at our next meeting, the first meeting in December. So we have come up with pretty broad-based thoughts on how this committee would operate in terms of dealing with issues that affect seniors. We're proposing that there will be 11 citizens on this committee, that there will be ex officio members from the township having involvement of the Recreation Department, Cultural Affairs, the Health Department, the Welfare Department, and also the zoning official, because when you speak with seniors, you speak with issues that are important to seniors. Finding ways for seniors to remain living in town is always a very high priority. So we have proposed the committee would also include the involvement of the zoning official. So I had circulated this to everybody and asked for some feedback on it. The mayor has already provided some feedback to include some of the age-friendly initiatives that are currently going on in conjunction with the Township of South Orange Village. And we're going to include that. And so I just wanted to see if there was anything else that people here this evening thought were important before we finalize this ordinance for introduction next month.
I have one other question about the standard of being a person qualified to receive Social Security retirement benefits. So essentially, that's somebody who's 62.
Yes.
Correct?
That's
Okay.
somebody who is a senior. The committee will not be made up of all seniors.
Okay.
A majority of the members of the committee should be seniors. In fact,
Does it say that?
Yes, we've even included language in the proposed ordinance to try to have somebody on the committee who is under the age of 25 years old, so that we do have diversity of views in terms of populations living in the township as part of the committee.
I see that, but I don't see a majority has to be seniors.
Yeah, I don't see that on it.
I don't think so, Mr. Brown.
All right, then it could, sorry,
Yeah.
it could be adjusted to make
Okay.
sure that's what.
So I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I will just say one thing about the term seniors. It is not a term that, we have been told, let me back up, we have been told by the consultants to the age-friendly that seniors is not a term that we should be using anymore.
Give you a term that we should use.
Older adults.
What is the term?
We played around with terms as well and coming up with how
Older
it should
adults is
work.
redundant.
Yeah, you know what, you can, I think this is fine, and we can always do something in the future.
Right.
To move this, I don't want to get hung up, but I just
Okay.
want to share with you, we've had a lot of discussion in the SOMA Age-Friendly Initiative about the terminology. But I think we're okay with this, because the South Orange group is called a senior group. So maybe when got everything going, we
Maybe the
figure out what's
Silver
going on.
Advisory Committee. Silver Advisory.
Silver, right. I also shared with you some comments from Ms. DePaul, so you got those.
I have that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else? You want to introduce this at the next meeting, correct?
Yes, please.
So are we okay with this?
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the initiative. And
Mr. Desiderio,
I just have a question. So you want, how many do you want to be seniors?
we want a majority of the 11 citizen members to be seniors.
So at least 6 of them.
Correct.
Okay. What I will do is draft something, Mr. Grodman, and get it to you for review before we circulate it, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Desiderio.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Ms. Adams, winter enclosure.
Yes, Mayor, this is an issue we discussed briefly at another Township Committee meeting. And as a board member of the Maplewood Village Alliance, it was up for discussion at the board meeting last week. The Village Alliance is very much in favor of allowing different restaurants to enclose part of the area adjacent to their storefront or their restaurant to put up a temporary, sort of temporary permanent structure, if that's a thing. Sort of like the enclosures to keep the cold out that they have in front of restaurants, doorways. They envision them being made of similar things and would be installed, I believe, I forget the months. I think it was like October through
November 1st through May 1st.
May 1st, right. So we had some discussions there, and obviously will comply. They will, they agree that they should put forth architectural drawings to be approved by our code enforcement official. I think our engineer should also take a look, just the normal, typical process. They understand the clearance issue is a little more complicated because, as I think we discussed at that other meeting, since they're not movable like tables on a sidewalk, the clearance needs to be adhered to, and that includes appurtenances on the sidewalk. It includes being 4-foot clearance for those because the structure itself won't be able to be moved if there's, and also for snow clearance and all of that. So they understand all that and are willing to have their businesses who want to have these enclosures participate. They think it will bring vitality to the village, and I asked Ms. Doran to survey the newer businesses in town, particularly the newer restaurants or food establishments, to make sure they were okay with this, because it's essentially expanding the footprint of one restaurant without that some other restaurants might not have the ability to do. So far, her results are that everyone else is in favor of it, but she hasn't been able to complete that survey yet. The other issue was the fee that we need to set, and I thought maybe I should have a conversation with Mr. Manning and perhaps code enforcement or the permit fees. They agree that the $100 fee that was first put forth was too low, but they also don't want it to be onerous. So that's what they want to move forward with, and they would like us to. I don't know if we have to do this by ordinance or by resolution. Probably ordinance, I would expect. Yeah.
I just had one question, because I know when we discussed it in code, there were some standards as far as bathrooms, if the enclosure includes by 50 or something like that?
If the seats in the enclosure brings the total seat of the restaurant to 51, then they need a second bathroom.
Now, is that
That
the
will be in
case
place.
if it's even a temporary? Okay, so, and so they understand that?
That didn't come up in the discussion.
No, I've spoken to,
But I'm sure they.
yeah, I've spoken to them and they understand.
As
it.
well as the passageways?
Yes,
Right.
Okay.
yes.
As long as
They have to meet every code, fire and
Right.
fire code, building code, bathroom code. So
Yeah,
that'll
and-
be the choice of the owner of the restaurant, whether they want
to
do
put
that.
in that amount of money for a temporary enclosure.
Right. If it doesn't go above 51, they don't need to put a bathroom in. But if it does, if it tips it, then they'll do a cost-benefit analysis.
But with 51 or not, they still need to have the same space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Between tables and stuff like that, yes.
As long as they know that. I just, she didn't mention that, so.
So how do you want to move this?
I don't, you tell me, is there an ordinance to be drafted? Mr.
I
Desbarry?
don't know that I have enough information. If you get me enough information, I can. I would suggest, though, that this might require some looking at the ordinance before. I don't know. I mean, we have the logistical problem of if it doesn't get introduced on the 6th, then it's into January.
Right. I don't think it's going to get done by the 6th. I think we're talking about
Yeah,
2017.
I mean, I think that based on what I'm hearing and getting the information and getting it circulated and getting the input from everybody, it probably makes sense to probably get it drafted and circulated around and introduce it in January.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll ask Julie Doran I believe she said Montclair has.
I think Milburn, or there's some other ordinances around.
So I'm going to,
Okay.
yeah, I'll ask her to search for some of those and then,
So what we'll try to do is put it on for discussion item next time?
Yes.
At work?
Yes, and we've discussed this in code already, and that's where we came up with these things. So we're done at the code committee. This is now just to us whether we want to move forward. And I think we'll get those.
And I'll try to get something on paper, so it's easier, I think, to look at and tweak it when it's on paper.
Right.
And then you can go from there. Okay?
Okay?
so is there consensus to move on?
Okay.
Well, it's consensus, I think, to put it on for discussion.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm in favor of it. But I was in favor of it last time, so. Mr. Brodman, Sanctuary Community.
Thank you. And this is kind of appropriate in light of some of the people who came and spoke to us this evening to the Township Committee about things that are going on in the country over the course of the last week. As many, well, maybe you don't know, in my day job, I am an attorney and a mediator, and a large part of my practice as an attorney is working with people who are immigrants in the United States and are attempting to immigrate into the United States. I can tell you that there are anywhere between 11 and 12 undocumented immigrants living in the United States at this point, and people might not believe it, but there are actually undocumented immigrants living in Maplewood. We certainly see hundreds of undocumented immigrants coming to Maplewood every single day to work. Probably most of the people in this room have had experience working with people who are undocumented and living and working and contributing to our community and to our country. Over the course of the last week, there's been a significant increase in hate crimes towards many different groups, and this is a group that has been vilified throughout this presidential campaign and has seen a great deal of violence and pretty horrendous acts directed towards them over the course of the last week in particular. There are many cities in the United States that have designated themselves as sanctuary cities or sanctuary communities in order to create an environment where those who are undocumented immigrants in the United States can not only have a sense of feeling some sort of safety or a safe place for them to be, but also there are initiatives by local governments to be sure that their officials, and those officials can be police officers, it could be somebody from a welfare department, it could be somebody within any department within a township government, is not put into the position where they are required to or forced to comply with federal agencies that are investigating somebody's status here in the United States. And that is typically what a sanctuary city or sanctuary community does. And I thought, in light of the events of the last week, that this is something that maybe we can think about doing here in Maplewood. There are cities all over the country that have done it. The most prominent one and most well-known one being San Francisco, but there are certainly smaller cities and towns and communities around the country that have done it as well. So I'm only going to be here for 6 more weeks, but I wanted to put that idea out there because it is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart because of the people that I work with, and I think it's something that we in this community are certainly committed to. So.
Remember?
Sure. I just want to commend Mr. Grodman for bringing this up, and of the many things that we're grateful for having Mr. Grodman on this committee for even for a short time, is, certainly the expertise he brings, not only in immigration law, but in working with people who are struggling with the system. And, I think we're in a situation now where unprecedented threats may call for unusual actions by government. And as Mr. Grodman mentioned, there's already dozens of cities around America that have designated themselves as sanctuary cities or sanctuary towns, including a few here in New Jersey, Jersey City, and Newark among them. And, and one thing I want to say is, not only would I support the sort of, Maplewood declaring itself a sanctuary community in the traditional sense in terms of not allowing any of our municipal personnel or funding to be used to identify undocumented immigrants, and not allowing our law enforcement officials to ask individuals about their citizenship or immigration status. But I'd also like to go a step further, given some of the other threats that the country may be facing, to say that at least I would be in favor, and I certainly can't speak for the committee, but I would be in favor of making a statement in whichever way is appropriate that Maplewood will not do anything to aid or cooperate with federal immigration authorities or any other federal initiatives that require identification, registration, or any other adverse action against persons based on race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and or immigration status, nor should the town deny any services or resources to a resident based on their status. And, to some extent, what we do in some of these areas, we may have to react rather than be proactive. But I think to the extent we can anticipate and be proactive to let our residents know that we have their backs, to let them know that this is a community where we want everyone to feel safe, to feel comfortable, to feel included, and to feel like part of Maplewood. Because, I think one of the real tragedies of this election cycle, not just the result, but the whole cycle itself, is the othering that has gone on in America. And it's just so anathema, I think, to America, but certainly to what we expect here in New Jersey and in Maplewood in particular. And I think it's made myself and so many in this community sick to our stomachs to see it. And we don't want it to be here. And I think we want to take a strong stance in whatever way we can. And if that's words, if that's ordinances, if that's other actions, I'd be in favor of it.
Any other comments? So I definitely support what you're talking about, and I support the statement you're talking about. So let's, can we get some of those ordinances to Mr. Desiderio? So
Yeah,
you can
I have the
pass
San
them?
Francisco ordinance. I was able to get that one online.
Okay.
I saw this as a discussion item. I was not able to find the Jersey City ordinance, quite frankly. So if you have some other ones, Mr. Rodman.
I will get them to you.
Again, carried into January?
No, let's put this on for discussion at the next meeting, just so that we have some clarity.
Try to put something on paper?
Yeah, and then would you get the language from Mr. Lembrick?
Yeah.
I don't know if that should be a standalone resolution or put into
I'll
this.
incorporate it in.
Okay.
I think I have an idea where I would put it, and Mr. Lembrick and Mr. Grodman can tell me. Yeah, you have to send it to me, okay, Mr. Lembrick?
Sure.
Because I wasn't able to write it down that quickly.
That's okay. We're on video.
And let's make sure that Mr. McGee gets copies of these. I believe you're starting to get in the loop. Okay.
I got his email.
And then what we can do is on the 6th, we'll have you come and sit in the hot seat again, and you can participate in the conversation. Okay? Okay? All right, can we get a motion on the consent agenda, which has fewer items?
I'd like to move adoption of the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Trying to help you out there, Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Grodman?
Yes.
Ms. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. We're now our second public comment period. Is there anyone who would like to address the Township Committee?
Can you raise the microphone a little bit? We'll be able to hear you better.
Okay, Julie Martini, 12 Briar.
Oh, come on with the microphone. Use this thing.
I'll talk
It's
loud.
not working.
Hey,
Now it's got to go on the television.
Not a technique.
No,
We
what
had,
the story
let's
is.
use this. You have to speak directly into the front of that microphone. Let's just use the,
Thank you, Joe. Okay, once again. Julie Martini, 12 Briarcliff Court.
hello.
I noticed that the fire department services are shared between Maplewood and South Orange. I happened to have a conversation with the fire chief in Orange, where I work, and he was talking about needing shared services with other towns. Because the city of Orange is a little bit older than we are and their construction is different, when they have a fire emergency, those houses go up very quickly. And a lot of times they can't respond quickly enough and don't have enough hands. So I'm just asking if you could consider joining with the city of Orange Township with fire services, because they really need it.
so just to be clear, we're studying whether or not, studying the type of shared services, if at all, with South Orange. We haven't done anything
You haven't
yet.
done it? Okay.
The other thing that we do with Orange, with South Orange, with Irvington, we do a mutual aid rather. So when there's a major fire there, we go there, fight fires. They've come here and fight fires.
Okay, cool.
If they're having a major fire, we go and sit in their firehouse in case there's another fire. So we already have that in place. To be totally honest, if we can pull off some kind of shared service between Maplewood and South Orange, we're going to have our hands full, maybe at some point. But in the short term, it's unlikely we would be able to do more than what we're contemplating right now.
Okay, I
And
didn't
we won't
realize-
know until
okay.
February.
I didn't realize we had so many fire emergencies around here. I want to support your sanctuary idea. I think that's really terrific. I'm hoping that you can get the houses of worship on board. I also wanted to say if it ever comes down the pike where people come here because we are a safe town, I would volunteer my home for people who are escaping the deportation police. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to address the Township Committee?
Good evening, Dave Hillcamp, 571 Prospect. I just returned from my first MRI, and so I've still got this atonal musical arrangement just kind of bouncing around my head. I don't know if you've always had an MRI, but no one had ever told me that it was so loud. But first of all, yeah, I really wanted to just comment that I feel really good about having the five of you guys sitting there in light of, what happened last week. And
Thank you.
yeah, and just to applaud you for already taking action. That's really cool. Because I think we all thought that as a nation, and we're all mistaken, I think, but we all thought as a nation that we were making some significant progress in certain ways. And all of a sudden, it's been driven back down, to the grassroots or local level. So I think you guys will shepherd us well in this hard time. So I wanted to comment on, or rather I should say follow up on the comments I made last week about access to the documents, in this case for the request for dumpsters at the post office site. And I had requested that a few days' notice be made available to people if the plans were going to change before the hearing, and also that the Design Review Committee meetings of the Village Alliance could be open to public observation, just to sort of grease the skids and make it easy for people to be aware of what was going on, rather than chasing document updates. So Vic facilitated access to documents. That was helpful for the second version, which had become available the night before I spoke. But there's no response on the issue of attending the design review meetings. However, a week ago, today's Monday? Last Wednesday, there was a sort of a real-time final review of a design upgrade update at the MVA before the meeting started. That was the design review committee meeting, and then their formal board meeting started. And at those meetings, a third version had been submitted. So by the time we got to the planning board, there were actually 3 versions in circulation and some uncertainty as to which one applied. I mean, not strictly speaking, it was clear the latest one applied, but not everyone was aware that there had been 3. And Bob Bratt, the engineer, was able to sort that out for everyone and also give his report verbally about what was relevant in the update. Normally, I think he would write a report. So, just, it's strictly from a process point of view. This is not about the merits of the application. I had sent an email, I think, probably following the last meeting, suggesting that we look at digitizing some of this material. In the engineering department and in the code department, it's clearly the capabilities exist today. And so I just wanted to mention that tonight. I think it would help quite a bit to have all that digitized, to have applicants required to submit electronically. You would be able to see immediately whether there were any changes to the docket, and you could selectively view things and print them. We have, I believe, at least 3 new professionals in the engineering department, relatively new. They might provide insight as to what's available in places they came from. And I know that we're doing a lot of throughput through that office, and fees have gone up substantially, so perhaps there's funds to earmark for that kind of software package. So that was really just by way of update. I think it'd be efficiency and effectiveness, and save the public some money too. And trips down here looking for parking spaces and things like that. The second comment about the hearings themselves regarding the dumpsters, and not so much, again, about the merits, but rather about the context of the hearings. I think, we shouldn't fool ourselves. There's a lot of tension in the topic, right? There's a proposal now for a dumpster shed bunker. The whole 9 dumpsters, it measures 18 by 25. That's 450 square feet, roughly. It's probably only a little bit smaller than a studio apartment in Claris, Maplewood. So there's sort of a tension because, well, first of all, the request is kind of a step backwards, right? It was a condition of the approval that all that trash and recycling be handled on site within the building. The project in many regards is kind of bursting at the seams. We've already made a truck parking spot in Rickleton Square. We're clearly taxing parking significantly in the village. We now have a request to place a dumpster structure on public land off-site. Again, this is in terms of the tension in the hearings, what the planning board is trying to deal with. The design team that has put forth the proposals, my sense of it is that they're not providing a lot of context in their design work. The engineers pretty much was tasked with a requirement, X number of dumpsters, concrete pad, and he kind of drew it. And there was some discussion about adding Village Coffee's dumpsters, and he drew that. But they're basically suburban site plans in the sense that, it's almost greenfield. You got plenty of space, you need a dumpster, stick it over there, put a tree in front of it, and you're done. And that's not what we have in the village. We have a much more complicated situation. So I think that's creating some tension too, because the planning board's looking at it. If I were the planning board, I'd be looking at it and saying, gosh, do you understand what you're asking here? Are you making a conscientious effort to do the right thing? And then finally, the redevelopment plan itself, of course, allows for trash somewhere in the redevelopment zone, doesn't say it has to be indoors. So the planning board, even though they, on condition of approval, they required it be indoors, now they're faced with a plan that doesn't give them a lot of leverage in terms of negotiating this new request. All right, so that's a lot of tension for the board and members of the public that are paying attention. So, having said all that, I think the request is kind of precedent setting. It's an intense private use that they're requesting to put on public land. It's counter to the development goals in a number of ways. The whole gateway notion, the underlying notion of improving the village overall. Also, the premise, so to speak, when we engaged JMF was that, well, we liked that driveway in the back, and we liked incorporating that and the gateway to the village, and we liked the enhancements to that area. And now we're faced with a grease trap next to the sidewalk and a dumpster bunker. So it's, it's a significant precedent, I think, in a lot of different ways. And it's introducing a collection of public nuisances. Frankly, I think we could all agree with that. It differ a matter of degree, but it's impacting traffic, potentially smells, could attract vermin. It's disturbing the goals, as I cited, as I mentioned about the gateway to the village. So, it's kind of bad news in the sense, and it's bad news in the sense that it's not an issue that's unique. Because if we're going to continue to develop the village, which is, as a matter of economics, is going to mean more density, we're going to come back to these kinds of issues over and over and over again. So what should we do? I had two thoughts. One is kind of a request to you guys. I suppose they're both requests to you guys. First is you recognize that the parameters of this project are really the product, most significantly the product of decisions made by this body and its subcommittees. And the planning board is normally an independent venue for resolving issues like this with property owners. But given everything that I've said, I don't think that the planning board may not be able on its own to get the best result. Something that suits the restaurant, the developer, and the community in general. So, if they felt they had no choice but to approve it, we probably, as proposed, we'd probably be doing ourselves a tremendous disservice. On the other hand, if they chose to deny it, we would probably end up in court. So my request to you guys is to recognize that you still have a role here in maybe negotiating solutions that would not normally be accessible during a planning board hearing. Because there are going to be limited options presented in that hearing, and it's not the place for creative, collaborative work. So in that sense, I could anticipate it having to come back to this body or members of this body to find a solution that works for everyone. And then finally, at the last meeting, I talked about the notion of, in connection with the recent developer designation, the notion of having a multidisciplinary group of some sort that could advise on matters. And I think, given the apparent direction that we're going in the village with further development and likely densification, that kind of consulting, whether we get it from a multidisciplinary team that we pay for or from community members, would be really essential for planning. If nothing else, infrastructure issues. That's really what this is. It's like, where are we going to put all this variety of trash and linens and recycling and everything else that each new business and larger building is going to generate. So in that sense, I would again reiterate that I think we need a little more of a multidisciplinary advisory function for the future. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to address Township Committee?
Almost didn't recognize you.
Mike Summerskill, 804 Prospect. Good going after Dave because the microphone's the right height and I don't have to adjust it. Just want to follow up with you guys, close out the citizenhood came before you guys, I think it was 3 meetings ago. Maurice Briefer, he's the 91-year-old World War II vet, lived on Warner Road. So the good news is we were able to help him. So the Boy Scouts, troop number 5, they had about 10 Boy Scouts that went there to help clean out the gully behind his house, which also included a local construction company who donated the truck as well as the dumpster. It was a full 40-foot dumpster that was donated. And that was Kasdan Construction Management. So I just wanted to follow up back with the group to let you know that we were able to help Mr. Briefer. I guess my only suggestion for the future would just be, while I understand the town's policy was correct as far as it being private land, just not what we can't do for him, but what we could, because I do think we have an obligation to connect members of the community that come before the committee with resources, whether it's Boy Scouts, the Rotary Club, concerned neighbors, whatever those things are. So, so that we don't have that situation where we have someone who felt like they weren't listened to and we're left, kind of stewing. So, anyways, it's my suggestion that we consider in the future. And thank you.
I agree. Thank you. Thanks for doing that, Mike.
Anyone else want to address Township Committee?
Yes, I know the election's over. I actually have a real comment. Frank Lee, 8 Carlton Court. Regarding the Older Adults Advisory Committee, I just want to get a little more information about the strategy about collaborating with South Orange.
Well, there is the age-friendly initiative that's going to be collaborated upon with South Orange at this point. The Senior Advisory Committee, at this point, the way that we're initially proposing it, will be made up of Maplewood residents only, or the Older Persons Advisory Committee, I guess. Got to iron that out.
Okay, yeah, because one idea would be to have a liaison maybe from the South Orange government side, just as we do from Maplewood side, just to have that collaborative.
It's probably a good idea,
well.
and I imagine, Mr. McGehee, with your experience with working with seniors in town, that you will probably end up being the liaison. And that's a project that you could certainly second next year.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you.
Careful what you say it.
Anyone else want to address the Township Committee? Anyone else here?
There's no one left.
Okay. Close that. And administrative reports. Mr. Manning?
Yes, I have only one thing, which is that the farmer's market, the last farmer's market of the season, is next Monday, the week of Thanksgiving. So if you're looking for some organic produce, etc., please go down Indiana and Springfield Avenue, the Maplewood Farmer's Market. Unless there are any questions, I did want to comment that I think the microphone is working.
Well, it wasn't over there.
You have to,
It wasn't
with this,
over there.
good timing with this microphone, because this is the microphone we used at the Veterans Day. You have to speak exactly the way it is, so when it's angled down, it doesn't work.
It seems to have a,
And I think this microphone is fine for what we're doing. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your observation. It was very informative. Mr. Desiderio.
I have one item, Mayor. This past Thursday, I attended a meeting of the Essex County Tax Board where we were given an update with regard to the present status of our reassessment. At that time, the reassessment company advised the assessor that he would have a draft of all values by the 18th, which I guess is this coming Friday. Inspections are effectively done with the exception of people who would contact the reassessment company to go out and do it because they otherwise haven't done it. We anticipate that letters will go out to all residents with their projected reassessments on or about December the 1st. Thereafter, hearings will be scheduled, and I believe the commissioners directed that the book be filed by January the 10th, 2017, which I think is unrealistic, but I think it will probably be filed by February. I did ask, and I didn't follow up, but the reassessment company did say that they could give us a printout of where the homes are that were not open for inspection. And I thought that might be of some use to get some idea of exactly where that might be.
That would be helpful.
We'll see if we can get that for you. Otherwise, it seems to have been, it's been reported in the news record that the South Orange reval is done, or I saw it online, I forget. I think I saw it in Village Green, and that they've apparently struck some kind of estimated tax rate. But in any event, we are told by the assessor there that she is not happy and that it's not done. So there's more work to be done in South Orange as well. But in any event, it's moving along, and I guess somewhere around February 1st, it should go on the books.
Based on what I read on social media, what people are getting is their letters, and the letter has a link to the website of ASI.
Right, make it
And
a-
on that, it has the calculator, the property tax calculator, taking the total value and rejiggering the 2016 tax rate there, which is what they'll do for here too.
Right.
So I don't know how much or not is done, but that's what people are referring to.
Okay. So it's moving forward is the bottom line. And I think that it would be fair to say, Mr. Godman was also at that meeting, that I think that Mrs. Durkin put the fear of God in the reassessment company. Would that be a fair statement, Mr. Rodman?
Very fair to say that there can iron fist in a velvet glove.
Yes.
Good. Anything else for Mr. Desiderio in his role as township attorney? Mr. Desiderio, can you give us a report as a township clerk?
Mayor, I have two items. First, I'd like to report that the presidential election ran very smoothly, and there were very few machine issues within the township of Maplewood. Any issues that did occur were resolved quickly without any major problems. Mrs. Fritzen would also like to report that 69% of the registered voters in Maplewood did in fact vote in this past election. Her second item is that the Veterans Day celebration occurred on November 11th. It was a great event for veterans and very well attended. And that's my report, Mayor.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Fritzen, channeled from Mr. Desiderio? Can you channel that to her?
I'm channeling.
Okay. Reports from elected officials. Mr. Lembrecht.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to start out by congratulating Mr. Frank McGeehee on his win last week. I look forward to serving with you, Frank. I would also like to thank and congratulate Mr. Summersgill, who was here and just left, for running a strong campaign about the issues. And I'd also just like to note that while Mr. McGeehee won by a significant margin, that Mr. Summersgill nearly doubled Mr. Trump's vote here in Maplewood, which I think shows that even most of our Republicans didn't even vote for Mr. Trump. Tomorrow, I think we've mentioned this before, but tomorrow the mayor, the deputy mayor, and I will be proudly down in Atlantic City at the Sustainable Jersey Luncheon to accept our recertification as a Silver Sustainable Jersey community, which is the highest level of certification available, and confirms Maplewood's continued position as an environmental leader in New Jersey and in the country, and that's something we can all be very proud of. Finally, reflecting back on this past week, I have many thoughts that have been going through my head, but one that I think is important to share here in this time, in this place, is commitment to progressive and inclusive local government has always been important, but I think for better or worse, will be even more important in the years to come. One of the things that really helped keep me going over this past week is that I've been inspired by the many here in this Maplewood community who've raised their hands and their voices to express their desire to get more involved, to use their time and their talents to help others and to make a positive difference. One of the things I've heard many times, both before and after the election, is talk about a culture war. And I've been thinking America is awfully quick to declare war on things: drugs, poverty, crime, and oftentimes these are things which really can't be defeated. The term culture war in America is often traced back to the German word Kulturkampf. It's a German word, and it actually doesn't mean culture war. The translation of Kulturkampf from German to English is actually cultural struggle. And I believe this is not just a mere mistranslation. The distinction's important. The story of American social advancement has been one of struggle, struggling towards freedom, struggling towards equality, and struggling towards a more perfect union. Wars are oppositional. It's us versus them. There's an enemy, an other, a zero-sum game with winners and losers, and inevitably a body count on both sides. War is wasteful and weakens even the winners. Struggle is something we can do together. Engaging in dialogue, exchanging ideas, pushing and pulling rather than punching and shooting. Struggle is productive. Dr. Martin Luther King said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." Struggle built this country, and it makes all of us stronger. Former President Clinton said, "There's nothing wrong with America that can't be fixed by what's right with America." And he's still right. This election is over, and hopefully so is the idea that our culture needs to have a war. But the struggle should and will continue. And I commit to struggling together with and on behalf of this community to keep Maplewood great, to keep New Jersey great, to keep America great, and struggle to make all of it better, and struggle against those who wish to drag us backwards. The other thing that's kept me going this week is how proud and grateful I am to have such wonderful allies here on this township committee and in this community. So let us keep struggling together to continue the road that America's on and continue to bend the arc of our universe towards justice. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lindbergh. Ms. Adams.
Mayor, just congratulating Frank McGeehee. Looking forward to working with you. And also congratulating Mike Summersgill for a really well-fought campaign on the issues, as Mr. Lindbergh said. I gave my comments at the event on Friday night, and I don't want to repeat them here, but just let's keep moving forward. Other than that, I have no report, Mayor.
Mrs. Larrier.
Thank you. I, too, would like to congratulate Mr. McGeehee. Well-fought campaign. Well, fought is a bad word, but a well-won campaign, and Mr. Summersgill for a very good campaign, and sorry he's not here to hear this. I have been very dismayed over the last week. Some of you know that my line of work, I went to work, we were very much organization. But one thing that has lifted us up, and I thank you, Mr. Lambert, for your comments, been the idea that when trials come, lean into them, they prove to make you stronger. One thing that has lifted us up is that spurred us on. Fight harder. Make sure that the gains that we have made are not lost. Take a lot of work. I think we can do it. Something else that lifted me up actually was my co-ed daughter has sought out to the other side. Sometimes it's difficult, but she's sought to do that. Reach out and try to understand the other side, sort of in a, she calls it a bipartisan way, to reach across the aisle is what she said. And I think that we also have to remember to do that as well. Not that you agree, but that you do open up a dialogue. Open up a dialogue, you never know how many we might be able to pull to our side.
Thank you. Mr. Grodman.
Everybody else has already said it, but I want to congratulate Mr. McGehee too on a tremendous win last week. I think that what was interesting this year was the Democratic candidate had a stronger opponent than they've had for a very long time, and I congratulate Mr. Summerskill as well for stepping forward and willing to be involved in this process. But I do congratulate Mr. McGehee, and I'm quite pleased that he won, and he's going to be sitting in this seat on January 1st, right? It will be this seat, right?
Yes.
I have to admit, felt somewhat devastated by the results of what happened last week in the national election. It's no secret that I have been very involved in partisan Democratic politics. I'm proud of the fact that in Maplewood, 90% of those who voted did vote for Hillary Clinton. And I will say that I am grateful to live in a community that I believe is a shining example to the rest of the country of what this country can and should be. And I will continue to work hard to make sure that the ideals that we have here in Maplewood are spread to other parts of New Jersey and other parts of the country as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll add my congratulations to Mr. McGehee. We look forward to working with you in just a few more weeks. And I believe you'll be down at the league, so we'll do some introductions of you. Are you going to the league? Oh, you're okay. So you're not. Okay. We'll make introductions. We'll take a picture of you and we'll show it around down there. Okay. A couple of things I want to just say. We received a letter from the Superior Court of New Jersey talking about the Criminal Justice Reform Act, and they did offer to have someone come in and speak. I have been to two of these, and I would recommend that if you want more information, you go find it, because I think having somebody come in would just be a lot, and it's just not that exciting.
They had me at hello.
Yeah. Okay. So it is a terrific, I think, a terrific way forward for criminal justice reform. It will change the whole bail system, and so we'll be monitoring this as it starts January 1st. So we've been in meetings with our police. I've been in meetings. We had a meeting at the courts with South Orange and the court people and the police, and then the chief and I attended a meeting in Essex County. So there's a lot going on, and if people have questions about it, we can direct you to the right people to get those answers. I just want to give you a date, December 17th at 1 p.m., which is right after our talk to the Township Committee, and more importantly, it's my birthday. December 17th, Saturday. We are going to be opening a time capsule that was found at the Hilton United Methodist Church.
On the day you were born?
On the day I was born, yes. It goes back to the 21 years that I've been born. So we will be opening a time capsule. The developer has the time capsule. We'll be working with the Duran Hedden folks and some of the people from Morrow Memorial Church. So I will give you more information, but that is going to happen on December 17th at 1 p.m. at a place to be announced. I just wanted to say that I too spoke Friday night, and one of the messages that I gave folks, and I'm going to say it again here, is we need to organize. We need to continue to fight. We need to continue to move forward, and we have that opportunity in this state. In 2017, we have a governor's election, and this state in Virginia, and this would give us the opportunity. You know, we suffered some of those retrenchments of our own rights and services for women, services and programs for others, the refusal to get involved in some healthcare initiatives. So we have an opportunity here to turn it around in New Jersey. So as demoralized as we might feel right now, we need to organize. And that's the message that I want to continue to move forward. We need to be out there, and we need to do what's right here and take what we do here and take it across the country. With that, get a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Aye. Okay, we'll adjourn, and we'll see you on December 6th. Thank you very much.